welcome back to Riding the Pine. This is a review of game 45 of the 2020-21 Chicago Blackhawks season. Tonight, the Blackhawks shut out the Detroit Red Wings by a score of 4-0, improving their record to 21-19-5 on the season. They now sit 2 points behind Nashville, who lost tonight for the final playoff spot with a game in hand. But before we get to the review, if you could do me a really big favor and hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Helps us out a lot as we continue to grow here. Also, hit that notifications bell. That way you will know exactly when we upload. You don't have to come looking for when we upload our videos and our content. We will come directly to you with a ping notification on your cellular device, or if you have, I guess, any device, whether that be a cell phone, iPad, or I don't know if they have ping notifications for that on computers or laptops, but at least on your iPad and your cell phone, you will get a notification. And with that, we'll throw it over to Chai Sports fan Joe. Joe, pretty, maybe not a significant improvement over Thursday, but definitely a nice win.
Yeah, no, I think with you got to give the penalty killers, I think, a lot of credit tonight. I mean, I know I had tweeted out, even though it is Detroit, when you're shorthanded, 10, 12 minutes, a game. I mean, it's hard to kill off a lot of penalties even against the worst teams. So give our penalty killers credit for going 100% tonight. But some really nice goals, I know, by Kalynuk and Kane, and Hinostroza had a nice game. So it's a good win to give us some momentum going into this pretty much make or break series against the Predators.
Yeah, I think Hinostroza, and I think was it Conroy that said it? I think this may have been, at least for the Blackhawks, at least his most impressive game in the woods he played maybe 120 or so games with Chicago now. Um, 3 assists on 3 of the 4 goals. First goal, much needed after the Hawks spent virtually half the first period on the penalty kill. Um, Outworked the other guy, won a board battle, stripped a guy, danced around Mark Stahl, their defenseman, who I'm surprised actually wasn't dealt at the deadline, by the way. Got to thread the needle right between the legs to Kane, and then Kane buried it. And amazing night to him. 3 assists. Initially, I heard them give him the assist in the arena, but for whatever reason, they didn't put it across on the app for whatever reason on that empty netter.
No,
But yeah, um, that
maybe they just got to update it or something. I don't know.
yeah, well, they have updated it, but I know on the initial notification, it was
Oh, they didn't.
originally
Okay.
unassisted.
Oh,
But yeah, I thought Kalynuk too again had a great game. Really showing his speed. His speed basically created that third goal with him and Vinnie and Kane. Um, that's something that you need with your defense. That's what the Hawks were talking about years ago with what they wanted to do with their defense when they brought Colleton in, was to get their defense more involved in the play, just like that. So that's the second time he's really made a play, whether it be on the. I don't think he got a point on that overtime goal, Joe, when you were on vacation against. I don't remember who, Columbus, I believe, I guess, or whoever it was. Uh, but he had skated right up the middle. I'm pretty sure it was Columbus, and drew the defenseman away from Hagel, and Hagel was able to pot the goal. Similar story tonight, although he's the one getting the goal from Kane, and he started the play actually. in his own end on both instances. So that speed and skating ability really coming out there. And then, I don't know if we've talked enough this season about Alex DeBrincat. So he scored his team leading 22nd goal tonight um, from Hagel and Murphy. And Doc deserves a lot of credit for that too. He was a beast down behind the net with that puck. I really like that line, by the way, too, with Hagel, DeBrincat, and Doc. I don't know
Yeah.
if
No, I like it too. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like they clicked a lot tonight too. So it
yeah, well,
was.
I think didn't they start with Hagel with Suter and Kane?
I
Is that
think so. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah? And then I don't know if that was just a line change issue or if they were actually trying that out there, but um, I kind of like that, and like uh, yeah. But the thing with DeBrincat that I wanted to talk about is aside from the fact that he's scoring back to his old self uh, after that horrible year last year, but something we've talked about, I know I've brought it up, but defensively, he is just so much better. And it's been so evident since he came back from the COVID protocol list. And he's being rewarded. They were talking about it on the broadcast with him out on the penalty kill. I think, I think what is he, 23 going on 24? I
Yeah, that sounds right.
it with his progression, he really I think could I mean, it looks like he could be Kane's heir to really be the leader on this team offensively. And then if he carries in that defensive ability, I mean, to kind of be that MVP type of player, um, that's huge for the Hawks. But so great development, great season for him. He deserves a lot of credit. Didn't sulk, got paid a lot of money on that new contract that kicked in this year. And after that awful season that he had last year, um, even I was talking about, do you try to move him? And not only for uh, just because of his down year, but the fact that the way they structured his contract, it goes up every year. So he's still a restricted free agent at the end of this contract. So 3 years from now, you have to re-sign him. You have to pay him minimum $9 million. That's another 3 million increase to what he's his cap hit right now. I mean, well, but you're talking Patrick Kane money. Kane's making what, 10 and a half?
Yeah, 10 and a half.
Yeah, so that's a big jump and a lot of money to give to one player. And you know what? If he keeps playing the way he is, he'll probably deserve it. I mean, he's on pace for just under 40 goals again. Um, the defensive play, it, give him credit. That's definitely a huge improvement, obviously, from last year. Um, so very nice to see from him. Um, Brett Connolly has kind of disappeared. uh, he had that big goal in his first game, and since then he's just kind of been there. Only played 10 minutes tonight. Um, I'm wondering because they announced, or the official Hawks Twitter account was tweeting out numbers today, and they tweeted out both Gaudette and Hardman's numbers. So I'm wondering if maybe in this Nashville series, if Hardman or Gaudette will get into the lineup just for a different look. Um, I don't know. Well, the other thing with Connolly is he's playing with David Camp
True.
and Carpenter. I mean, and he's not really suited for that kind of a role. So that's like I was talking, I think our last review, some of these moves are kind of puzzling because you've added all of these bottom six guys, maybe top nine, right? Hinostroza top 9. Borgstrom could be a top 9, but Connolly top 9 potential.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got Gaudette and yeah, you got all these guys you're talking about signing, whether it's your first round pick in Reichel, you still got Nylander coming back, potentially Shalunov that you have the rights to. So all these guys, and it's like, well, there's only, 6 spots. And we haven't even talked about Carpenter or Camp. And it's just kind of like, where are you going to put them all? And, Kurashev's in there too. And I don't know. It's just like they've got the guys for their bottom 6. I think that you can figure out who you want there. It's just they're still missing that like big piece in their top 6. Whether that's Reichel, whether Nylander turns into that, maybe, but maybe one of their second round picks this year will turn into that. Alex DeBrincat, after all, was a second round pick. I can't believe that. And not only was he a second round pick, I think he was like the
Well, didn't we
ninth.
get him? Wasn't he part of that, like, for Philip Deneau?
No. So
Okay.
he was the original Andrew Shaw piece.
Oh, yeah, that was right. Okay, I knew it was somebody we dealt to the Canadians because the
Yeah.
Canadians gave us the pick. So,
Yeah.
but
So they traded at the draft, I think, right? They traded because Shaw was a restricted free agent. And I had said at the time, like, he already screwed up and gave Marcus Kruger a ridiculous contract at $3 million. You can't afford to give Shaw anywhere close to that.
right,
And he's going to want it. And of course, he got just under 4 at 3.9. And then, of course, we had to go and trade for it to get him again and bring him in. And now we're stuck with the bad contract again
right.
for a guy that, probably may not play again.
I was gonna say I would find it very surprising if Shaw plays again, but
So, yeah, I don't know. Like, this team is so close, right? And they need to develop. Their defense needs to develop. Their younger players like a Hagel. Hagel's up to 15 points now with his assist tonight. He's played in, I think, 30 games, 34 games. So about what is that? About a point every 2 games, every two and a
yeah,
half
right
games.
around there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a nice top 9 player. Kubalik has really cooled off yet again. He's stuck at, I think, what is he at, 29 points on the season, and he's played in every game. So 45 games. Granted, he'd be about where he was last year, around that 55 point mark at the end of the
Pace,
season.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is nice. It's like Patrick Sharp type numbers, but he's kind of, that's the thing with Kubalik. He's like a borderline second line player, but a really good third line player. He's like in the middle. And I think on a good team, he's probably a third line player. So that, I think that goes back to that thing is like, is Hagel a top 6 player? I don't know. Probably not.
I mean, he's playing like one, but
Oh,
on paper, I don't
yeah.
know if
I
he is
mean,
one.
he's not producing like one.
Yeah, not pretty. I mean, I'm just saying more so his ability and to create
Yeah, he
chances and
creates a
make
lot.
plays.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
And he can play up and down the lineup for you, which is also nice to have.
but yeah, he's not. Yeah, obviously not a goal scorer or So
Right. And he doesn't necessarily need to be. But I think that's the thing. And maybe if Taves comes back, that will drastically change things. And obviously Doc's still developing as well, but Doc's producing at about a point every 2 game pace. I think this was his 10th game. or 11th game, and he's got 5 points. Didn't find the score sheet tonight, but like I said, was involved on that DeBrincat goal. So like I just
he didn't get an assist on that on the DeBrincat goal?
no. So it was he would have if it didn't hit Hagel,
Okay.
but
Okay.
because it hit Hagel, Hagel got an assist.
Okay. Yeah,
It's like
weird how
that
that
looked
works.
like it hurt because
Yeah.
that hit him right in the sternum, and there ain't no padding there. That's like the one place there's no padding. At first, at the first replay I saw, I'm like, "Oh Jesus, are we gonna get the Dale Talon weenie line?"
Yeah.
But I guess it did hit him a little higher up than that. But God, for those of you that don't know what the weenie line is, go and Google Dale Talon weenie.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I can't believe that guy was the guy that built the dynasty, which is that's what's even like funnier now. It's
About
like
it. Yeah.
there's proof, folks, that you can do whatever you dream of. You can go from making genital jokes to building one of the best teams in the last 30 years in the NHL. Um, but yeah, I thought Kirchev played well tonight too. He was noticeable, I think, with his defensive play and kind of harassing the Red Wings whenever they had the puck. Yeah, I mean, too many penalties, right? Like we've talked
Oh yeah.
about
Yeah,
that. Like
absolutely.
they can't do that against Nashville. They just can't.
No. Yeah.
Um, Interestingly, Duncan Keith really had his minutes cut tonight. I think this may be the first time in a long time there were 2 players that played more than Duncan Keith on the defense.
Yeah, how many minutes did he have, Duncan?
Well, and I'm wondering if this is because of he took the 4-minute double minor.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if maybe that's why. But he played 21:55, so just under 22 minutes. Murphy played 22:19. Zadorov played 22:04. Stillman played 19:55. So they really like Stillman. I'm surprised they're playing him that much. Kalynuk 15:40. Again, got the goal, showcasing his speed. I again now do you all see why I was asking why he wasn't playing at the beginning of the year? This I think was his 10th game. That was his second goal. I think his 4th point in those 10 games. And then like I said, I don't even think he got a point on that overtime winner the other night, but he was definitely a big part of that. And then he got power play time too, about a minute, just over a minute tonight. Yeah, so yeah, probably Keith, that 4 minutes is probably what did it. And you know what? This is interesting. Stillman played 4 minutes on the penalty kill
Wow.
out of his on almost 20 minutes. So like they really like him. And I know they were talking about like his rookie year? He was playing like 17 or 19 minutes a game, something like that with Florida. So that's really interesting. You know, we talked before we jumped on here about them potentially moving on from Zadorov and keeping Stillman, just to kind of because again they have so many defensemen and nobody has any place to play that it kind of makes a little sense to me to play both Zadorov and Stillman because they're kind of the same player. Um, And on the Stillman note, he led the defense with Keith with 3 hits, and he led the defense with blocked shots with 3. So I don't know. That trade's looking better and better. Both trades with Florida. Like I was sitting here thinking to myself, I tweeted it out, and maybe fans don't remember, but I'm sure you remember, Joe. You remember when the Cubs traded with the Pirates, and it was 2 separate trades, if I remember correctly. They got Aramis Ramirez, and then they got Kenny Lofton and Randall Simon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And back in the day, when the stadium wasn't all tricked out, they had, was it on the Budweiser building across the street? I can't remember, but one of the buildings, because you could still actually see the buildings, had like a big yellow sign in like black and gold that said like "Thanks Pittsburgh" for like Ramirez, Lofton, and Simon. And I was just sitting there thinking, I'm like, yeah, that kind of feels like what these moves with Florida were, right? Like Hinostroza is kind of the Ramirez with 5 points in 6 games. You've got Stillman, who's kind of, I guess, would be Lofton maybe with the defense. And then Simon, your big gun, I guess, could be the Connolly with the 20 goals, but or maybe it's even Borgstrom who's not here yet. But like, I was just sitting there thinking, like somebody even Dietz, I think, said Florida didn't want Hinostroza. Like, maybe there's a thing with Q, right? It's like the Michael Kepney thing where
Yeah, you just kind of fall off his good graces and you just can't get back on.
yeah, well, like Kempney couldn't crack the lineup, and then he was traded to Washington for I think a 4th round pick, and he won the Stanley Cup with them playing top 4 minutes in the final.
Yeah.
And according to Quenville, he wasn't good enough to play on the Hawks.
Yeah.
And Washington's liked him enough that they signed him to like another 1-year deal, and then they gave him a long year, like 3-year deal after that. So he has definitely gotten respect. Hang on just a second. My TV, for whatever reason, just popped on. Can you hear it?
No.
Oh, okay. Like I'm just sitting here and I'm like, what is that? And it's like somehow my TV just turned on.
No. No, I cannot hear it.
Okay, good. So with that interruption, um, Subban, right? We haven't really talked about him.
Yeah.
29 save shutout. First game back in 3 weeks. Pretty impressive. I will say this. Colleton said, I guess before the game, that they intended for this to happen. They knew this like 10 days ago, I think it was. And I have to say, like, you knew for 10 days that you were going to play Lankinen 8 straight games and then give him 1 day off before playing him in the biggest series of the season. Like, that sounds kind of dumb. And like you weren't really
Agreed.
planning very well. But anyway, it worked, I guess, at least for this game. But Joe, how do you think he did? Do you think he?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he made some really big saves, and I know the one was pretty impressive on Helm. I think where he absolutely robbed him of a goal there. But no, I mean, I thought he played good for the amount of chances that Detroit had, and I mean, I don't think many of them were grade A, but there were some, and I give credit to him. He came up big when he needed to.
Yeah, I agree. I think there were a couple that you could say maybe were big saves, but I don't think there were like tons.
No,
Um,
no, right.
and I think they did. I guess we haven't talked about the teeny bopper or the man child that was filling in for Eddie. Um, but he had mentioned several times about Stillman and his stick and how the defense, and even in that last 5-on-3, Connor Murphy was excellent in terms of getting the puck out of the zone. Now, granted, as I tweeted out, Detroit is the second to worst power play in the league. So, like, I think we need to take the 6 for 6 like with a grain of salt, and I think that's also why we say um, you can't do this against Nashville, or you're gonna lose. But yeah, I'm like I said, happy for Subban. This was his third career shutout, second shutout this year. Him and Lankinen now both have 2 shutouts on the year. Um, so yeah, I mean, do you think they bring Subban back as the backup next year?
I mean, I would think so, just to kind of have, not to say that, Subban's, the wily veteran, but he is, I guess, at this stage of his career, considered a little bit of a veteran. But I mean, he's got he can be, I think, not to say he's going to be a stellar backup, but he's going to get the job done. I think it seems more nights than not being your backup. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him back next year, but who knows?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think he's signed for next year, if I'm not
Yeah, I
mistaken.
think he signed a 2-year deal this
Yeah.
off. So yeah, I'm that's why I think he'll be around, but I don't know.
Well, I thought it was interesting. Lankinen didn't even dress tonight. We finally saw Colin Delia for the first time in
Yeah, what
Jesus.
seems like forever. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, he's still here. I forgot he was around. Um, yeah, in a way, I feel bad for Delia, but in a way, I don't because, like, dude, you had your chance,
Well,
man,
right.
and
I was gonna say
like,
he had chances, and maybe like I said, a fresh start for him will in somewhere else will do him some good.
yeah, but see, like, that's the question. Does anybody want him? Like,
Some team, I'm sure, will take a chance on him and just bring him in either from to a minor league deal, and then maybe if he does well, you go from there with him. But I don't know. But I know I think some team would be willing to take a chance on him.
yeah, but like, I guess my after his contract is up, right? Do you see a team giving up an asset for him? I mean, other than like a 7th round pick.
No, but unless they just, like I said, you sign him to just a team friendly, like 1 year. What is it, like $850,000 deal? I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean he's on a 1 year or a three. I think they gave him 3 years, 3 years and $1 million per year. And I think is this the first year or the second year? Let me look here. Do-do-do. Because that I really hope we're not sitting here like with that scenario going out. So yeah, he's got 1 more year after this. He
Okay.
Delia is actually being paid more than both Subban and Lankinen.
Yeah, that's mind boggling.
Yeah, yeah. And he's the middle of the three, so they're all Lankinen's 25, Delia's 26, Subban's 27. Um Lankinen will be 26 actually here in a couple weeks. His birthday's on the 28th, so we'll have to remember that. And then Delia will turn 27 in June. So, yeah, I think unless something weird happens in the expansion draft, I would expect Subban to probably be back as the backup next year. I think he's at least earned that probably at this point since he's also under contract. Um, Yeah, but is there anything else that you noticed about tonight that you want to bring up?
No, I think we kind of covered everything. I think now just leading into obviously this kind of fast forwarding now to this series. I mean, I think this is obviously we're going to find out of whether or not the Blackhawks are going to be in the postseason or not based on these 3 games. I mean, best case scenario is obviously you want to win all 3, but I think the key is if you could win maybe just the first 2 and maybe take a point in the last one, that would be probably pretty good too. But
Well, they've got to come away with at least 4 out of the 6 points. There's
yeah,
no doubt about that.
right.
And they do
So,
have a
but
game in
obviously,
hand.
yeah, you
So,
don't want to lose. I think the key is you don't want to lose the first game because then if you lose the first
right.
game, now you're 4 points back, and so
Yeah. Well, and
um,
Colleton said it. This is a playoff series. This is the playoffs. I mean,
right.
from here on out, really, and not just the Nashville series, because even if they win all 3 games against Nashville, that would put them what 4 points up with a game in hand, so potentially 6 points up. That's really
Mhm.
not a lot considering
No,
they have 3 with Carolina left,
yeah,
one with
one with Tampa and I think 2 with Florida.
yeah, and then I think
So
one more with Dallas. Or are they done with Dallas?
no, I think that's I think it's either 1 or 2 more with Dallas after the Carolina series.
Yeah,
I think
because
that's
they
who they end with. So
yeah they end with Dallas. Yeah, so those are all going to be tough games. So that's why I think you almost have to win all 3 games, because that's, like I said, that would give them, they win the first game, that ties them, and then the next 2 would give them a 4-point edge. Then, assuming you win the extra game in hand, that's 6. And I don't even know who you'd pick that up against. I mean, the game in hand is against Tampa Bay.
yeah,
So, like, that's not promising.
no, right. So
So,
but I
yeah,
think it's all dependent upon who Tampa starts because it seems like when they start Vasilevsky, it's an automatic, pretty much an automatic win. But when
yeah.
they don't, when they start McElhenney, they struggle.
Yeah, I'm
So
surprised. Are you kind of surprised they didn't go to pick up a backup?
I think I kind of am, especially knowing there's like I said, there's struggles when McElhenney's in net versus Vasilevsky. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind
Well,
of just, I mean, that's kind of just head scratching to me because all the talent on that team you would think would be able to kind of offset, some of McElhenney's struggles, but I don't know.
yeah, well, I don't yeah, I can't imagine they have a third string goalie they prefer to bring up. And well, that's like they were talking about on the broadcast tonight. Nobody wanted Bernier, and like they said, I think it was it his like last 10 games he'd only allowed like 3 goals twice or something like that.
Well, how long is he signed in Detroit?
Mm, I don't know, but even like Thomas Grice did that, like had a ridiculous run just a year ago with the Islanders. Granted, um, the Islanders are the Islanders with Trotz, but let's see here. Uh, what am I looking at? Yeah, Bernier is a free agent at the end of the season.
Yeah, then maybe they just wanted too much more than what everybody else thought he was worth. I don't know, but that is kind of surprising that.
I mean, he does have a $3 million cap hit, but Detroit can eat that easily.
Yeah,
So I don't know. That is strange. And he's like the backup. He came in as the backup to Grice, because
yeah,
Grice is still signed through next season, and Grice is 35 years old. So that's kind of a head scratching. Bernier is only 32. So Bernier could potentially be their backup going into next season if they wanted to keep him. Can't imagine he would, and with the tax breaks in Florida and being on literally a top 3 team in the league.
Right.
I mean, it right? Like, what is it? Toronto, Tampa, and Carolina? I mean, maybe I guess Colorado and Vegas. So top 5 team then. But yeah, I don't know. Um, do you see so going into the first game against Nashville, you had asked me this, and I don't think I got your opinion, but who starts?
Yeah, and that's because it's like, you never want to. I feel like you never want to take out a goalie, especially after having a shutout. But I know we had talked. It was like, well, it was Detroit, and so I mean, I think you got to still ride with your best and go with Lankinen. But I don't know. Part of me it wouldn't surprise me if Colleton just, it says, okay, well now Subban's kind of hot, so we got to ride him. But I don't know. I think though, if it were me, I would go back to Lincoln, and that's just my opinion. Even though Subban's,
Yeah. Well, and it is. It puts you in a hard spot, but I agree with you. I would go to Lankinen, but it would, like you said, it would not shock me if I see Subban.
yeah, starting.
And another reason for that is, didn't Subban get them like one of their only points because he took them to a overtime, I think.
Yeah, I think they've lost the two of their five losses to Nashville. I think have been in overtime and a shootout. So I don't know if both of them were Subban or if one was
I think they
Subban,
were
one was
split.
Lincoln. So
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I'm not sure if they'll make any changes in the forward spots in the lineup. I could see them bringing DeHaan in for Mitchell potentially if he's ready to go. Same thing with Boquist. What'll be interesting is if Boquist and DeHaan are ready to go, because then I don't know do you sit Sidorov? Do you sit Stillman? Like I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like you want a guy like Zadorov in the lineup for a big series like this, just because
Well,
he's
you
a
would think, yeah.
yeah. So, but
So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I want to get your opinion on this though. It's not necessarily hockey related, but it is hockey related because it's dealing with Toronto. Did you see what Ontario is doing now with the COVID restrictions?
is this in relation to fans or players or?
Well, I mean, sort of. So, like, the government of Ontario, I think it was today, and Sherrod lives up in Toronto, so like he's living all of this crap.
Mhm.
And he had, I, I assumed he was just referring to normal COVID restrictions because he had sent me a message the other day. He's like, if you want to, experience what it's like living in North Korea on the cheap, just cross the border over and come to Toronto. And I said, well, it's not any better here. I mean, look, the Hawks can't even have fans. Um,
Right, and and it's crazy that they're the only
team, yeah.
United States, hockey team that won't allow fans. But
Yeah, while the baseball teams get to have fans.
right,
It's just ridiculous.
right.
But so they've passed a like emergency declaration or law that you can't leave your house now in Toronto. Like, if just to get groceries, you have to like get permission. And you can, even when you go and get groceries, you can only be out of your house for like 2 hours. And
Now, who monitors this?
the police, they're so it sounds like Nazi Germany, man. Like
Yeah, kind
they
of.
they told that, I guess, however the Ontario police, or I don't know how it's broken up there, but um eh, Toronto, whatever, they can, if they see you outside your house walking, they can stop you and ask you what you're doing outside, and if you refuse to answer, they can arrest you. If you're driving, they can stop you because you're outside.
Now,
Like,
what if you're outside, like exercising or jogging or walking around,
yeah,
or
you can't do that. You got to
you
stay. It's like a permanent stay at home order, and then you've got to get somehow you have to like get permission to go to the grocery store, and you can only be out for like 2 hours. Like, and you have to have some.
that's crazy because I know even in, I think, like, what was it, London for a time, or Europe, they were on strict kind of lockdowns too, and but it was like, okay, we'll allow you, 15, 20, 30, whatever it was, for as long as you're like actively exercising, or like, taking a walk, you could be out for X amount of time
Well,
doing
I
that.
maybe you can do that if it's like in your backyard.
Yeah.
But like you like to me, like when you said jog, it's like jogging outside up along the street and or a block or whatever. And yeah, that sounds like they can stop you and arrest you just because you're outside.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I'm like, I told him, I said, well, if God wants to have maximum hilarity, he could have the Maple Leafs win the cup this year.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I'm sitting here and thinking, they just passed this crazy whatever it is, temporary whatever. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, what the hell? Seriously, what are they going to do if the Maple Leafs, like, if this continues into the playoffs and the Maple Leafs at least get to like the final? What are they going to do? I can almost guarantee you the people up there are not going to stay in their homes. Like,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to
that's
see.
like just for us. Like, can you imagine if when the Cubs were going to win the World Series in game 7 and they told you we will arrest you if you like leave your house.
Well, yeah,
Like,
no, it wouldn't have flown here. Yeah. So,
well, and
um,
that's what I mean. It's Toronto's sort of like Chicago, right? It's always
right.
compared to Chicago, and city design and then just everything about it. And it's like the Maple Leafs winning the cup is kind of this hockey version of the Cubs winning the World Series.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's
definitely.
it would I just can't like they can't be dumb enough, right, to like leave that in place for that because like you and I have talked too about, and I think I told you, like, I can't imagine that maybe they don't have fans for like the first 2 rounds, right? But once they get to the Eastern Conference Final, which let's face it, if the Leafs don't get to the Eastern Conference Final, that's a choke because the
Yeah.
first 2 rounds are in your own division. And I don't see anybody in that Canadian division coming close to Toronto.
Maybe, I mean, you think Winnipeg can maybe upset them?
Well, maybe, right? But I guess that would be the second round because Winnipeg right now is right behind them. Those are the top 2 teams.
Okay.
But
So,
if they get to the third round being the Eastern Conference Final, and they'd have to play whether it's Boston or New York or Washington or whoever the hell it is. I think even Pittsburgh's really turned it around.
but now, would those games be played in the United, all those games be played in the United
Well,
States?
see, I guess that's, maybe,
So,
but as far as I'm aware, they're not doing a bubble. So that seems to me like they're going to be at a normal playoff round where, it's what, like
well, it's kind of,
2.
I just figured they'd do it like kind of the Toronto, how the Blue Jays are playing somewhere in Florida, that if, that they would designate an arena for the Maple Leafs here in the United States. Maybe they would play, say, in Buffalo, that they would have, that's where the Maple Leafs would have their home games for the playoffs.
Well, that's I mean, that could be, but then I would think, why wouldn't you? I mean, couldn't you just stay at whoever the other teams was? I mean, why? I mean, it would the other team would have an advantage because they could have fans, obviously.
Well,
But
right, and then they'd have, it's like, in essence, you're not going to give a team, in a 7-game series, 7 home games, quote unquote. So you got to at least have them travel somewhere for to have it be like a road game. So
Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess Buffalo, that would make the most sense
Yeah,
because it's right across the border. But
exactly.
but
So
I well, and then like we're gonna have, dude. If that
but I think it's
happens,
like,
and
but it's weird because I don't even think, fans in Toronto can cross into the
that's
United
what I'm
States.
saying. That's what I was just gonna say.
So
They can't come across the border. So then
right.
we're gonna have everyone's worried about Joe Biden and the Mexican border. We're gonna have Maple Leafs fans storming New York
Yeah.
to get
I, I,
in to
I
watch
mean,
the
I don't know.
Maple Leafs.
That's what I said for these for the fans in Florida, where I would love to know, like, where the Blue Jays are playing. How many are actual Blue Jays fans, or are they just Floridians trying to, do good deeds to try to help the Blue Jays get a home field advantage of sort? I don't know.
Speaking of, where the hell are they playing? Because
I
I
think
did.
I think it's their spring training facility in Dunedin, Florida. I think it is.
Well,
So
does that have a roof? Because it looks like it had a roof.
no, I don't think it does. So,
Well,
but
because
I
I
know
was
they had talked about playing there for like the first part, and then I think playing somewhere else for the second part of the season, and then hopefully by the near the end of the season, they hope to be back in Toronto. But
well,
I
because
don't.
they've I don't I saw a YouTube clip of Joe Madden with the Angels getting ejected because they were playing the Blue Jays, and I guess like they have sort of like there's different rules for when you play the Blue Jays because the stadium is not like fully equipped with like replay technology and stuff.
Hmm.
So you can like challenge plays more often than you can uh in a regular game anywhere else. And I guess like you get two challenges before the sixth inning and then one after the seventh or whatever. And Joe had gotten kicked out for basically, you know, going to replay every 5 minutes and then bitching because he didn't get the calls. But um, yeah, it's just weird to me. But and I thought I'm like, well, I mean, all the seats are blue. Kind of looks like Rogers. Like, and I'm like, well, it because it looked like it was covered, but maybe it was just at night or something, and I didn't see it because I haven't since I don't have Marquee Network. I haven't really been paying much attention to baseball this year. So, um, but yeah, uh, that'll. I just can't imagine if the Maple Leafs make the Stanley Cup final that they don't do something for their fans. Like, I can't imagine. And then if they win, oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, I think if they win it, yeah, you're not going to be able to control, any
No.
fans.
Well, and that's why I would say, right? Like if you're the government or who the local Ontario government, you have to know that. So wouldn't you get ahead of the problem and be like, okay, we'll have like social distancing in what is it, the Air Canada Center? Is that what their arena is called? Or
Yeah,
is it
yeah.
yeah. It Canada, you got to get more companies because all your arenas have like the same damn name. The only reason I know the Saddle Dome is because it's literally the Saddle Dome. It's different. Like there's Rogers Place, then there's like Rogers Arena or something, and then I think it's the Air Canada Center. Like you guys need to get your diversify your arena names in your big cities. That's like uh there's the American Airlines Center, and then I think there's the American Airlines Arena, and I can't remember which one's in Dallas.
Yeah, I think American Airlines Arena
Center, isn't
is in
it?
Dallas, and then American Airlines Center, I think, is in Miami.
Okay. Like I it's whatever.
Yeah.
But makes it confusing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But yeah, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because I seen that today, and naturally my thought process was like, well, the playoffs are almost here. So if they keep this ordinance or whatever in for however long, like holy Christ, what a mess that'll be up there. But anyway, and I like you said, I would think the NHL would be working on that right now to figure out like, are you guys gonna play here? Like, are you gonna let our American team come across the border to play
Yeah,
you?
highly unlikely, at least from what we've seen thus far. But
Yeah.
that's why I think I if once Toronto is in, that they'll likely play their home games. I would think in Buffalo.
It's gotta suck to be a Sabres fan.
Yeah, right. So
But on that same note, if by some miracle the Hawks get in, and by in I mean just the playoffs, because I don't foresee them getting past the first round. Will they let fans in for the playoffs?
that'll be interesting. I mean,
I think there's going to
I
be a
would think they,
lot.
they would have to at that point. They would
They would
have to.
have to, right? Like that would be a really, really bad look, I think, on the governing people of Chicago to not let the Hawks have people in the building for the playoffs when the
Right.
two baseball teams have fans for the regular season. Like,
Right. Right. So I think they're probably gonna. I would imagine if the Hawks, depending, what happens within the next week or so, if they feel like they're going to be in, then they'll probably make some kind of contingency plan to have some fans there. But if they feel like, if everything kind of goes to hell in the next week, then they're probably just going to say, hey, they're not going to make it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
yeah,
So
there's not going to be look, there's not going to be fans for the rest of the regular season. I think that's a given.
yeah,
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 that's, you're looking at next year. But I do think if they make the playoffs, there's going to be a real pushback or blowback if they don't let people in the building.
but even so though, it's like, all right, the Hawks make the playoffs, and like we've been talking about, they're probably going to go up against Tampa Bay, in the first round. So is it like for only 2 games to have fans there? Is it really going to make a difference? I don't know.
I don't know. And I guess I didn't bring this up, but I mean, I do wonder, right? Because the players have bitched about the fan noise in Chicago that it's like the worst place to play, that they feel like they're on the road because one, they're the only arena that doesn't have fans, and then they're whoever I guess is running the crowd noise that they're piping in sucks. And like I was listening to Detroit on the broadcast tonight, dude, they're hitting that crowd noise button every time Detroit enters the zone. I
Which I'm
was like,
surprised, because Detroit has fans there, so I don't know why they're still doing it.
yeah, and Detroit's had fans there for a long time, like since February, I think. Like right away, they were given fans, which is why this thing was. I mean, Michigan's been very strict with COVID stuff, so that's one
Right.
thing that's like very strange with Chicago, which I don't know what they're doing there.
Yeah, I don't. That's why I said though. But yeah, thinking about it now though, Kyle, it's like, yeah, if the Hawks do make the playoffs, and then to have to prepare the arena and you know get all the these whoever many employees you need to come back, and basically it's like, all right, well, we're paying everybody for just what's likely only going to be 2 games. I don't even know if it's worth it.
Well, that's what I'm confused about because the beat writers were like, you remember, right? They were posting pictures that the UC was going to open.
Yeah, yeah,
Like they had welcome back signs and they were taping off like sections of seats and stuff, I assume for, the social distancing. And something I guess just didn't go through or something. I don't know. I don't know if
Well,
the Hawks wanted more fans and the city wanted them to allow or what, but
yeah, I mean, I thought it would be no more than 20% at most, but
yeah, probably like 5 or 6,000.
yeah. So, but
Yeah. Anyway, when is the first game with Nashville coming up here? Is it
It's Monday.
Monday? Okay. And this is weird. And I think they even confused themselves on the broadcast. So the first game is in Nashville, and
Right.
then the next two are in Chicago.
Yes.
So it's a little odd. But I
Because I
think
think, like I said, that the one in Nashville is the makeup for the one
right,
that was postponed. So
right. So yeah, it's a 3-game series, one in Nashville, two in Chicago. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You're gonna want to watch all of those because it's basically going to be a playoff series. If the Hawks lose, they're pretty much done.
yeah,
Um, so, with that, everybody, that'll wrap up this show. We thank you for listening. I know we kind of got off on some stuff that's hockey related, but not Chicago related, but I do think it's relevant. So, again, Malcolm Subban gets his second shutout of the season, third of his career. The Hawks beat the Red Wings 4-0. Um, Big series coming up. Game one is Monday night, April 19th at 7 o'clock. We will be with you for that review, I believe, on Tuesday morning, hopefully. Won't commit to that because I got some stuff going on Monday, so we'll see. But should be up hopefully Tuesday morning. And again, vaccines, if you're in Illinois, are fully available to anybody 16 or up if you want one. So get that scheduled. Um, Obviously, we've just been talking about trying to get fans back into the building. So if you can get your vaccine, that'll probably help that for sure. Um, and then again, like I've said, make sure you guys are checking in on your family and your loved ones, including friends, because I think everybody needs it after the last, what are we going on here, about 18 months of this now, um, or 15, somewhere around there. So, yeah. And again, we thank you guys for checking in and listening to us this season. I know we're starting to wind down here. We got what, about 10 games left? Is that what
yep.
it's? Yep.
hmm
So we're in the home stretch here again. It's first year of this. So again, we're glad all of you have been bearing with us. And we got some exciting games coming up, which we didn't think we were going to have. So it's a win-win for everybody, including us. So
Absolutely. So, hey, we didn't think the Hawks would be at this point, but hey, they're contending for the playoffs, and that's, I think, a lot better than what most of us had thought they'd be at this point.
yeah. So again, everybody, thanks for listening. Again, please leave some comments down below or tweet at us if you want. Again, you can follow Joe at Chai Sports Fan Joe on Twitter. You can follow me at McBrooklyn48. And you can follow the show at Riding the Pine 21 on Twitter. If you have any suggestions, comments, whether positive or negative, please let us know them. Also, like I said, any general comments on the game or the upcoming schedule, feel free to drop us some comments on that as well. With that, everybody, we will talk to you on Tuesday morning. Until then, let's go Hawks.
Thanks, everyone, everybody. Go Hawks.